You won't believe what's been making waves lately on social media. Rumors, outrage, and confusion over one jaw-dropping claim. Are millions of dead people really collecting Social Security checks? That's right. From viral tweets to late-night rants, this bizarre myth has taken on a life of its own. And today, we're diving deep into what's really going on behind those headlines. Is it fraud? A glitch in the system? Or just another internet-fueled misunderstanding? Stick around, because what we found will absolutely blow your mind, and maybe even make you laugh, cry, and question everything you thought you knew about Social Security. It all started with a bold and attention-grabbing claim that millions and millions of Americans who've long passed away are still listed as alive, and still cashing in on those monthly government checks. This accusation was amplified earlier this year by none other than former President Donald Trump and tech billionaire Elon Musk, who both hinted that the Social Security Administration's records were so out of date that there must be massive fraud happening in plain sight. Now, that's a headline too juicy to ignore. But is it true? Are ghosts actually making bank from the federal government? Let's break it down. The idea that thousands, maybe even millions, of deceased individuals are still receiving government benefits sounds outrageous. And let's be honest, it makes for a great conspiracy theory. But when you look past the shock value and dig into the facts, things start to look very different. The Social Security Administration, or SSA, receives more than 3 million death reports every year. That's right, every single year. These reports come from funeral homes, family members, government agencies, banks, you name it. And out of those 3 million, fewer than 0.3% are ever reported incorrectly. That's a remarkably low error rate for an agency that handles tens of millions of beneficiaries and billions of dollars in transactions. So where did this myth even come from? It turns out, some people stumbled upon data showing that individuals born before 1920 were still listed as alive in the SSA's system. Cue the panic. But here's the twist. Most of these cases involve placeholder data or system glitches, not actual payments going out to the dearly departed. According to SSA's internal investigations, most of the so-called living dead were never getting a dime from Uncle Sam. In fact, the agency rolled out an automated system in 2015 to immediately cut off payments to anyone who reaches the age of 115. Yes, 115. Because even if you're the healthiest person on Earth, the odds of living beyond that without being noticed are, well, statistically microscopic. So what's really going on? Blame it on the legacy software, the decades-old computer systems still in use by some government departments. If the SSA doesn't have full information on an individual's birth or death, their systems might default to bizarre entries, like birth dates in the 1800s or blank status updates. This doesn't mean those people are actively receiving benefits. It just means the database isn't perfect. Still, there are rare but real cases where payments continue after a person dies. Sometimes a death isn't reported right away. Other times, a funeral home might forget to file paperwork, or a relative might not notify the SSA in time. In those cases, a payment or two might accidentally go out before the system catches up. And when that happens, the money has to be paid back, no exceptions. And let's be clear, fraud is not a joke. If someone intentionally fails to report a death and continues to cash those checks, say, through a joint bank account, that's a serious crime. We're talking about potential criminal charges, financial penalties, and a world of stress for surviving family members who might not even realize what's happening. Experts like Nick Bohr, the CEO of Inspire Wealth, warn that surviving spouses or children can accidentally get pulled into this mess if they don't double-check that everything's been reported correctly. And once the SSA realizes a mistake has been made, they will come knocking to get that money back. Fast. On the flip side, what happens when you're declared dead by mistake? Yes, that happens too, and it's no less terrifying. Just imagine waking up one morning and finding out your Social Security benefits have vanished, your bank account is frozen, and your credit score has gone off a cliff. All because someone, somewhere, entered the wrong info in a database. Yehuda Tropper, the CEO of Bika Life Settlements, says you need to act immediately if this ever happens to you. Contact your local SSA office, get a letter confirming that the mistake has been corrected, and notify your bank and creditors. This kind of mistake can cause chaos in your life, and fixing it quickly is the only way to minimize the damage. It might sound like a plot from a Netflix series, but these things really happen. Just a few years ago, a woman in Ohio was shocked to find out the SSA had listed her as deceased, even though she was very much alive. It took her months to get her records fixed and her benefits restored. During that time, she had no income, no access to her accounts, and no idea when things would go back to normal. So what's the real takeaway here? No, millions of dead people are not getting Social Security checks. But yes, the system isn't perfect. Errors can happen both on the side of the deceased and the living. The key is vigilance. Whether you're handling the affairs of a deceased loved one or keeping an eye on your own records, being proactive can save you a world of trouble. Make sure to notify the proper agencies after a death. Double-check that all reports have been filed. And if something doesn't look right, like a missing check or a surprise letter, don't ignore it. The earlier you act, the easier it is to fix. And as for the internet myth that dead people are cashing in on your taxpayer dollars, well, it might make for a juicy viral post, but the truth is far less dramatic. Still, it never hurts to ask the question and shine a little light into the dark corners of our massive government systems. Because while the dead may not be collecting Social Security, they certainly know how to stir up the living. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful or eye-opening, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who still believes the myth, and don't forget to subscribe for more real talk on money, government programs, and the truth behind the headlines. Until next time, stay informed, stay alert, and always check the facts before you panic.